Shut up and sit down.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah, Batman!
Our bikes love us and we love them back as we ride through the city by the cars like plaque on the teeth of the town. We just keep on singing. We're unstoppable.
Oh, hell yeah!
G&O. Unstoppable kids. Yeah. Get your bike and go.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Lee Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. One of the most important decisions you will make is to be in a good mood. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. So, crank it up and be happy, my friend.
When things are good, when things are hard, we ride together, we don't drive cars, but together we make such beautiful music.
Oh, hell yeah, brother, yeet.
Unstoppable mamas. A G&O. We're unstoppable. Unstoppable kids. Yeah. Get your bike and go. Get your bike and go. Unstoppable papas. Pedal and flow.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! You're doing it good, buddy. Great job.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von During. Today I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance in the studio today.
With pants on.
I have my pants on, but I am sad because none of my kids called me yesterday. They usually call me on Sundays, and none of them called me.
I thought you were going to say it was like your birthday and they didn't call you.
I think they hate me.
Yeah.
Or they don't listen to this. So.
No, they're busy because they're Disneyland World.
They're all busy. Anyway.
Yeah. Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
And you look good. And you guys look good, too. So there's that.
And we've got a special listener slash friend slash teammate in the studio with us today, Mr. Alan Plank.
Hello, hello. I don't have a cool, catchy...
Well, nor should you. You don't want one.
I'm here. Hello,
that was
everyone.
Pathetic, Alan.
I'm sorry. I'll work on it.
Disappointed.
Oh, all right. Let's jump into our backpedal. Matt.
Okay, mine's easy to do because I didn't do anything this past week. We have cross-country season starting, so coaching cross-country kids. We have largest number of kids we've ever had before, 122 kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. I don't know what we're going to do. And
Probably
so
run a lot.
we're going to try to run some. And so actually that's what I did this week. Didn't really swim that much. Didn't really bike that much. Went for a couple of runs. I'm really happy that I did an 8-mile run yesterday.
Nice.
I know. For me, that's good. It's a start.
It's
something.
You're feeling better. You're moving a little bit better.
I'm moving. I'm not moving well, but that's okay. I'll take it.
Shoulder report, though, is...
It's getting better.
Yeah?
It's getting better, yeah. I'm working with Evan Price, who is a regular on the podcast, just not regular enough to make it here today. But I'm working with him on shoulder rehab stuff.
Shoulder looks like it's happy to see us.
Yeah, it's erect and it's right there.
There's something protruding.
It's
from across the table.
The collarbone sticks up and doesn't hide its feelings, so it sticks up, and so that's it's basically a permanent addition that I have on my shoulder now. So it's not going to get better. For the most part, it's just going to be there.
During this downtime with your shoulder, has your Achilles done any recovery? Is it starting to feel better? I mean...
So I took basically... I really wasn't able to run for 2 months or so, and I think that did help. I was having calf problems and all this stuff and couldn't really run more than 2 miles, and so I think actually having this extra break helped. So
good.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's not perfect. I'm still going to need to do some stuff about that, but whatever.
Gotcha.
I like it.
Yep.
Alan, I'm looking straight at you, but I'm going to hold off until we go last. So, Lance, jump into this.
All right.
Backpedal.
Backpedal. I've got 3 things I want to talk about because I raced 3 times this last week.
3 when there's a 0, so it's 30 things.
30 things. Here
30
we go.
things you want to talk about.
Number 29. So,
Number 29.
I raced the Portland Trophy Cup cyclocross race. It's the Tuesday night series here in the Portland area. And I raced the 50-plus category. And there was about 20 people in my field. I got out to a really great start. I got way ahead in the field.
It sounds like a carbon copy of last week.
Yeah, right.
You're like, I went out hard.
I tried not to go out that hard because I tried to learn something from last week. But after half a lap, I was in the lead and kind of pulling away. And then a guy caught me in the field. And he caught me and he sat on my wheel for a little bit, and I let him go around me. And once he went around me, I was able to stick right on his wheel, and I just out-sprinted him on the very final
good for you.
straight.
That
So
worked. Nice.
Yeah. So I ended up winning my first race of the whole year. I've raced like 35 times. That's the first race I've won.
Congratulations.
All year. So that was kind of exciting. And these Portland Trophy Cup races are fantastic. They're well run. They're at Portland International Raceway. They're not real difficult courses, but they're good. They're good races.
How many people were in your field?
They're about 20.
About 20? Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's another one of those tomorrow night.
Correct. They're 5 weeks in a row.
Okay.
They're every Tuesday night. So
And
there's another
it's
one
going to be
tomorrow night.
super sloppy tomorrow.
It's going to be messy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Which is okay.
You want to give a little shout out to why the juniors get to race free there?
All juniors race for free, and all beginner women race for free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good
at
for
Portland
them.
Trophy Cup.
Good for them for
That's
doing
awesome.
So we have a teammate,
Yep.
Eric Hagstadt, who owns a real estate company, and he sponsored all the juniors, which means he's paying for any junior who wants to race for the entire year. So if you're a junior, or you want to try cyclocross or something, you can come out and race for free at Portland
That's
Trophy
crazy.
Cup Tuesday
Do you remember
nights.
the name of his real estate company? It's like Inhabit Portland?
Inhabit, yeah.
Inhabit Portland or something like that? Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Very cool. Good
We
job,
should,
Eric.
send
Thank you,
people
Eric.
his way. Inhabitportland.org.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We
It's
don't know
like
what
when
his website
people-
is, but people should go check it out.
Yeah. I always
it
like it when people like that do
Yeah,
cool stuff
totally.
for kids and women. Is he supporting the women as well, or is somebody else stepping up to do that one?
I'm not positive.
Gotcha.
Somebody else might be stepping up for that one.
Gotcha. We'll find out. Maybe we'll post all that stuff up to Facebook.
That would be cool.
Another empty threat.
Right. So that was the Tuesday night race. Wednesday night, I also raced cyclocross.
Well,
There-
it's one of those days that ends in Y. You
That's
gotta,
right, I gotta race.
you gotta race on those days.
So there's a Wednesday night series here in Portland at our dairy, Alpenrose
Oh,
Dairy.
right.
It's called Blind Date at the Dairy.
Yep.
They are also fun, more difficult courses because there's some run-ups and some steep things and whatnot. And in this race, there was about 25 guys, again, in my field. And I did the exact opposite of the night before, where, at least in the end, I started slow. I worked my way to the front, and I caught the guy who was in the lead and went around him, and he sat on my wheel for 3.5 laps and then out sprinted me. So it
Same
was-
guy, huh?
No, different guy.
Oh, different guy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So different guy. It was kind of funny because I got around him and I put in some huge efforts to try to drop him, like in technical spots on the
Yeah.
course, and I could just never drop
Do
him.
it.
He just stayed with me. And so on that last lap, I kind of held up a little bit, hoping that he would go around me, but he didn't. He kind of sat there. And then right at the very end, we caught some lap traffic, and we both went opposite ways to try to get around this lap traffic. And his lane opened up, and mine didn't,
okay.
and he beat me. So,
So
it was
just
great
totally
racing.
Random things
Yeah.
like this is just gonna happen. You race 80 times per week.
Right.
Things are gonna, you're not gonna win them all. So.
Yeah. So first on Tuesday and second on Wednesday, that was pretty good for me. So I was feeling really good going into the weekend race.
Yeah.
Which was our Grand Prix Luciano Bailey Het Meer race at Vancouver Lake Park. And the Het Meer race is famous because there are a couple of sand sections which are very difficult. There's a sand spot that you can ride through, and then there's a sand spot you have to run up. And I was feeling good because I'd raced really well during the week and thought, and there were lots of guys who beat me the weekend before that I beat during the week, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do a whole lot better. So in this sand section, I started slower again, but I was running about 5th, and last week I took 9th in this field, and it's like 45 guys and difficult fields and fast guys, and I thought, okay, I'm trying to be in the top 5 or something like that, and I was running about 5th, and I get to the sand section, and I went through it 7 times, I think we did 7 laps. If it was clear ahead of me, if I had no traffic ahead of me, I could ride through the sand.
Because you have to power through it.
You have to power through it. You have to put your weight back. You have to keep weight off that front wheel. You have to just kind of power through it. And if it was clear, I could make it, which was faster than running through it. But if there was traffic in front of me and they turned in front of me, you couldn't really like make a course correction. You would go down. So, me, like an idiot, tried to ride it every single time.
Of course. Because you're Lance.
That's a smart move.
Because I'm like, it's faster. I know it's faster. I'm going to ride it.
You're like, I just have to ride over 2 or 3 people.
Right. And so I completely endoed twice.
Okay.
Yeah. Like guys would turn in front of me and I would try to go around them and just.
Yeah.
And
As soon as you move that front.
What was that?
Oh,
okay. That's what that is.
That's the
Okay.
endo sound.
Gotcha.
And I had full sand in every crevice on my
Human
bike.
churro.
I was completely lightly dusted in sand. And on the last lap, I was running in 5th and tried to ride it and crashed. And 4 guys in my field passed me right at that spot.
You're like spitting sand
Oh,
out.
yeah.
They're like, good job, Lance.
and
good effort.
And I believe I cussed loudly, so I'm glad that there weren't an
get DQ'd.
Obra official at the sand pit because I cussed really loud.
They may not have been able to hear it over your other sound effects.
That's right, because I was wheezing as well. So I ended up 10th.
Dang.
Yeah. So
But you were in 5th.
I was in
that point.
5th. I was in 5th
You just had
at
to,
that
you
point.
just had to land it.
I should
Steady
have.
lanced it.
I tried to like power it. It's just stupid.
No, I think it's the right thing to do. If you had a clear shot in that last lap, you should have gone for it.
Well, I didn't.
You didn't. Oh, okay. Never
Yeah,
mind.
there were guys ahead of me, and I thought, oh,
You're going to pass them.
I'm going to pass them. I'll go wide, and they'll go left, and I'll try to get around them, and I'll pass even more guys. And instead, they wobbled in front of me, and
That sand was deep.
yeah, it was deep.
You're full of all kinds of little sound effects today. I
Oh
love it,
yeah.
dude.
Well, I talk with my hands, and you guys can't see that.
Yep.
So that's enough. So
Good job, Lance.
I sat on some guy's wheel and beat him, and then somebody sat on my wheel and he beat me, and then I made poor decisions through the sand.
ate a lot of sand.
And ate a lot of sand.
Yeah.
So
Glad you're okay.
that's cyclocross racing. I'm a lot more sore today than I should be.
Did you ride yesterday?
I didn't. No.
Took the day off, so.
I did, yeah. So
Alan, would you like to backpedal for us?
I would love to. So first up, a little introduction to myself, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
So I
Smart.
I work for the Oregon Air National Guard full time, who, by the way, offers tuition assistance these days. So
Nice.
kids
That's good to know.
17, 18, 19, looking at wanting to go to school, join the Oregon Air Guard. I work on F-15s, avionics systems, and
cool.
it's good stuff.
Awesome.
Also spent a few years in special operations with the Air National Guard, so there's opportunity for that as well for people that want to get into that. So this past week, I do triathlon stuff like Matt and Evan.
This is a triathlon takeover, sort of.
I don't know if we really need to
Who
go that
invited
far.
Alan?
But
Anyway,
it happened.
But we're slowly pulling him
We
away
have
from the
been
dark
pulling
side.
him.
He's,
So I've done about 20 or so road races and short track and now cyclocross races this year, and no
Yes, you have.
triathlons at
I
all.
know.
So
I feel
Yes.
that. I know where this is going, but I don't love it.
I hurt my ankle. I'm thinking it was a stress fracture back in April, and it was one of those sections of the ankle that just is really, really slow to heal. So I've just been riding my bike a whole lot, bikes.
So is that why you kind of shifted a little bit this year? Because you
It
just
is.
couldn't quite run as much.
I couldn't run at all for probably 4 months or so. I would occasionally go out and try, and it just wasn't.
and you
wasn't
did this
happening.
training for triathlon, right?
Yes.
See, lesson learned.
And your biking has become unbelievably
my
fit. I
gosh.
mean, you've gotten so much
I've
faster.
made some progress.
Alan is so strong.
Yeah.
He's so fun to ride with.
So moving into the last week, I have gotten back into running some more, but I'm not running very hard.
Okay.
Trying to take it easy. I got myself. I was always like a minimalist runner before. I've got myself some shoes with a ton of padding, some Hoka Ones, and I'm just kind of taking it easy for the most part. And last week, I did quite a bit of running and some easy bike riding, and then I also went out and did the Hetmere cyclocross race.
Yep.
It was my second race of cyclocross, and I'm doing these on my mountain bike because that's what I have.
Yeah, I saw a picture of that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I'm doing okay.
I actually think that's a good way to go.
So I started out in the Cat 5 group, and I managed to eke out a win there in my first race.
He won by minutes. He did not eke out a win. He
On the mountain bike,
crushed the field.
You won with the mountain bike.
So I bumped up to Cat 4 for the Hetmere, and I did actually eke out that one. I was losing for a lap and a half or so.
Still like 30 seconds.
You still won by 30 seconds exactly.
So I'm doing okay.
Yeah, Alan's very strong. He's done very well.
So I'll probably bump up one more Cat this next week, and then after the Hetmere race, I went and ran a little 5K on the Air National Guard base. Cool. They did a 5K fun run on base to bring attention to suicide awareness.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's been a big issue in the military over the last couple of years. Suicide rates have gone up, and so doing some different things to try and bring attention to the fact that we all care about pretty much everybody we know.
Yes.
And if anybody has issues that they feel like people don't care about them or people aren't listening, people will listen. So talk to somebody,
reach
let
out,
them know if you need to talk about things. Definitely.
How was your 5K?
It was okay.
Did you run hard?
I did run hard. My ankle hurt a little bit.
Shoot.
So I'm probably not going to run hard again for a while.
Okay.
Just stick to running and cross races and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Cycling.
That's minimalist running right there for you at its best.
I feel like I'm losing him.
Alan won lots of races this year.
Yeah.
He won several races at PIR. Yeah. He won some crits. He did fantastic this year. So we're super happy that he broke his ankle.
So happy that he turned to the dark side. Okay.
Good. My backpedal, it's not much of a backpedal again, guys. I went out and did cyclocross practice on Wednesday, and I was telling myself, right, we're not going to do barriers. We're going to minimize that. So we did a fair amount of barrier work, and I did maybe 20% of it. So I skipped out on the lion's share of it, thinking that that's going to be like my little saving grace so I can somehow go out and race this past weekend. So it turns out that going into sand a bunch of times, not crashing, but like diving into it with your front wheel and stabilizing it can strain your shoulder just the same as picking up your bike and running it over barriers. And it was feeling it a little bit out there. And as the night went on after cross practice, it kind of got worse. Woke up the next morning, got worse. Went and saw the acupuncturist, and she's telling me this is a really bad idea. I talked with a couple other people as well. They're all saying it's bad ideas. Waiting here back from my doc to say, you should probably just totally shut it down. Well, I'm pretty much resolved to the notion that my cyclocross season was over before it began, and I am going to shut it down for the year.
So they don't want you to race cyclocross at all this whole season.
Correct. They say that I'm pretty much just walking too much of a thin line right now, that things could go bad, and it could be one of those situations where you get set back 5 or 6 weeks, and I love cross, and I wasn't going to do any of the wet stuff anyway because I don't want to fall and hurt myself. So I'm just going to hang it up. I'm going to transition into off season, and I'll just keep going out and supporting you guys and watching and taking pictures and cheering you on. But I'm a professional soccer spectator, professional team heckler, if you will, and then guy that takes pictures of people sometimes.
The cyclocross season is difficult with people that have kids your age because it coincides with the kids' soccer leagues. Yeah, and the games and the races overlap. So that makes it difficult.
So far, I've been to both of the cross races on the weekends, but my daughter's games have been in the afternoons, strangely. Like for some reason, a lot of their games are not until the afternoon, so I can go watch the races in the morning. And I could have been racing them, but so I've got my two daughters, my oldest and my youngest, are both playing club soccer now. So it's not just the rec stuff where you show up, and you play a little 40-minute game. They're playing games, like multiple games every day, all over the place, and we're constantly shuttling around and watching them play. So it was 4 games over the weekend and cyclocross, and then my son's playing fall club baseball now, which is a whole nother dynamic. But
you're not coaching or anything like that.
I'm not coaching.
Okay,
I'm just a spectator.
Good.
So that's my backpedal. Nothing.
Chase kids, man.
Yeah. But I do want to say, though, it was awesome watching everybody race at Hetmere. I went back and added things up. We had 34 people show up and race.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a lot of people from just
fantastic.
Our team. And then of that 34 people, we had 11 podiums, 11 podium finishes. 6 first place finishes, 4 second place finishes, and 1 third place finish, which is spectacular. And then just a bunch of top 10 finishes as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of these fields are deep, so that's proof positive that the team is making good progress. So
Right.
we're doing well. Got to show up to win though, and you got to show up to get on those podiums. So come on out and race. Yeah,
I love it.
Yep. All right, lead out news. Speaking of Hetmere, Lance, you want to give us some tidbits of information?
I can do. You know what I'll do is I'll talk about the men's 1-2 race. There was a pretty good field, but the 2 guys who took first and second last week were not there. They were both out of town racing other places, so the field was a little bit more open. It was won by the 15-year-old from Bend, Ian Brown.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing. And second place was by the 19-year-old Max Ritzau from Eugene. And then Jeremy Russell, the token old guy, on the podium.
It's nice that they're willing to travel over for these races because they have other options.
Well, Ian, was he national champion last year?
Yes.
Or,
for his age group.
For his age group, yeah. So that and he'd been racing the 2-3 field last year, so he decided to race the men's 1-2 field. And the race, Max was out in the lead by like 40 seconds. He was way out in front. So I don't exactly know what happened, but Ian caught him. And
quick question for you, because in the 2-3 field, our own Hayden Weirman went out there and absolutely crushed that race.
He won by like 40 seconds as well.
Was
it more than that?
It was more. It had to have been more than that. I think at one point in time, with like a lap and a half to go, he was a minute up, and he was continually putting in more and more time. I could be wrong. He could have come off the gas a little bit for the finish, but he
was so far out in front.
So my question is, how would he have done in that 1-2 race?
That's a good question.
I guess you got to look at lap times, and you got to also look at the fact that they raced for 15 more minutes, correct?
They did.
So,
yeah, it was a 60-minute race instead of 30 or 45. I don't know. I think he would have been top 5.
Yeah,
probably in that men's 1-2 field.
He's on his way.
Yeah,
he's looking strong.
Hayden also does very well on drier courses.
Yeah, and that's like a power course.
Yep.
So
which this weekend's race should be good for that because it's a power course as well.
Gotcha.
A corn cross race out in a cornfield. If it's not too wet, it's a power course as well.
Gotcha.
The women's 1-2 was won by Janelle Bickford, and second was Heidi Wood, and third Laura Parsons. So some love to the women as well. So
very cool.
They did good.
Cool. Matt, do you have some news for us in the vein of triathlon?
In the triathlon world, which I know a lot of our listeners are on the edge of their seats right now. They're wondering, like, what is going on with triathlon. They had the half Ironman World Championships in Nice, France. And it was interesting because it was, I think a lot of the European courses are more challenging. They're more technical. They're more like cycling specific in some ways.
This one had kind of a hilly bike course.
Some hilly stuff and some dangerous descents and things like that.
Very
and
cool.
So, yeah, it makes for a different type of race. I think they raced the women on Saturday and the guys on Sunday. I think a lot of people would have picked Daniela Rife to win the women's field, and she did. A lot of people,
she was a favorite.
Yeah, she's pretty dominant. I think a lot of people would pick Lucy Charles to get second, or those are the 2 big names for sure. She ended up 5th or something.
I believe it was 5th.
Yeah. So you were saying that she had a drafting penalty, is that right?
Yeah, she got hit with a drafting penalty, and it was 5 minutes.
Yeah,
which is huge in a race of that caliber.
So they get hit with the penalty. She's got to pull off to the side of the road
tent,
for.
Yeah.
She goes to a tent for 5 minutes,
and it was at the top of the hill, I believe. So.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
If you gave her back that 5 minutes, I mean, obviously, drafting, you get penalized in triathlon. That's no draft racing, but if you take away that 5 minutes, it would have put her in second, I believe.
Okay.
So it cost her.
Not to mention
3 positions.
Standing there for 5 minutes, your body starts to cool down and tighten up. I mean,
and
it takes
then
a bit to
rests.
Yeah.
And then it was a huge descent too, so she didn't really get to warm up before the descent again.
Do you think? I can't imagine that people are trying to draft at this level, right?
I don't think that they are at that level. I think everyone wants, it's tricky because you basically, it depends on the race, of course, but like you have these slots, right? Where it's, everyone's kind of saying like, all right, well, it's, should be like 10 meters or whatever it is, but then they're kind of trying to figure out what that is and how to measure that. And sometimes they'll use lines in the road to try to figure that out. And I think everyone's trying to do that because they don't want to get hit with a penalty.
Right.
But they're racing also.
But they're racing.
The brain's not getting all the oxygen.
No. And honestly, like, you have all these rules too. Like, if you pass, you can slot in to these spots, but sometimes there's not room. There's not that 10, feet. It's really more like 15 feet or something like that. Anyway, but you don't have that room to slot in, and so if you're going to pass, you have to pass like 20
the
people,
whole
right?
line,
yeah, which is impossible.
So if you don't pass it fast enough, you can get hit with the penalty.
And we should talk to Evan about this, but like, the draft is real, even though you have this non-drafting race.
Yeah,
you're still getting a draft.
Even 10 meters back, you feel it.
You're picking up a lot.
They're going like 25 miles an hour.
Yeah,
so
at least.
Here's a question for you. So we use radar on our bikes off the back to see where cars are coming. What's to stop them from making something on the front of the bike that will tell you roughly how far away you are, and if you get within that danger zone, it gives you like a warning, like, hey, back off. And they could even use that for governance reasons.
That would be cool. They might not use radar technology. The way that our radars work is it sees objects that are moving faster than us coming up on our backs. But they could use like LiDAR or something like that. Of course, that's getting to be pretty expensive, to measure distance for,
something though. I mean, would that help or solve problems, or would it create a safer training or racing environment?
I don't even know if it's a safety issue. I think it's just like one of these things where it's like, we don't want to have drafting in these races, and so we have to have a rule, and so we have to enforce that rule. Therefore, there are going to be drafting penalties, and sometimes people,
sometimes it's subjective.
Sometimes it happens, right? And so I think I kind of feel like it's okay. It just is what it is. It's not perfect, but I'm sure Lucy Charles is upset.
Well,
but.
Yeah, and if you watch St. George, Ironman 70.3 St. George this year, Kienle got hit with a drafting penalty. And if you watch the video from that one, the person that he got hit for drafting was kind of out, like way off to the left of where he should have been. So in order to get around him to the left, Kienle got stuck behind him for a minute, and I think that individual in front of him, I won't call him out on the podcast here, but that individual in front of him probably should have stayed to the right significantly more, and I think Kienle could have gotten around him a lot cleaner and not got hit with that penalty. And so I'm curious with Lucy Charles. I didn't see video of what happened with her, but it may have been a similar circumstance where one of the other pros was off to the left, maybe where she should have been, and made passing more difficult than it should have been.
And this year is interesting because I feel like this is a world championship, and I've always thought of like the half Ironman world championships as not like the world championship.
It's getting serious,
but
though.
Now it's getting better. Everyone was there for the most part. I mean, I think Kienle actually wasn't there, but it was good. Like it's looking like a legit world championships now.
Both the men's and women's races, and I really like that they split them up on different days.
Me too.
So the pro women didn't get any assistance from the fast age group males on the bike.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Speaking of the guys race was on Sunday. A guy that I didn't know won it. His name's Gustav Iden.
Now, I thought he was one of the fast 3
ITU.
Norwegian ITU guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I just don't know him. So he beat Alistair Brownlee, who most of us
outran him.
Oh, wow. I know.
Yeah.
So
stuck with him on the bike and then beat him on the
ran
run.
fast.
They
went
fast.
108 or something like that on their half, and Alistair went 110 or something, which is fine.
I can't even wrap my head around those speeds.
Yeah. Anyway, so good running. Interestingly, the guy that won, Gustav, used a road bike with clip-on aero bars. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, wow. Because there's a lot of climbing?
It's a hilly course. Yeah, a hilly course, and I don't know, makes sense. A lot of the big gains for, using clip-on aero bars or whatever it is just bringing your shoulders in and stuff like that. Your clip-on's fine.
Yeah,
so
that works.
You get pretty far with that. So
wow.
Something for people to consider, if they maybe destroyed their time trial bike and they're thinking about buying a new time trial bike.
Their time trial stem fell apart unexpectedly.
Don't know. Maybe you shouldn't even buy a new time trial bike.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Who knows?
Yep. Hey, where's Evan?
Evan Price.
People are probably wondering, where's Evan?
What happened to Evan? Why do we have Alan here?
This is gonna quietly go unnoticed. No one's gonna talk about Evan Price.
Triathletes are interchangeable here.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Evan is at a race that actually it's a really good race as well. It's Santa Rosa in California.
Santa Cruz.
Oh, I'm sorry. Santa Rosa's that's a totally different race. Santa Cruz 70.3 I'm trying to remember who won those races and things like that. Do you
Was
have
it
that
Evan? Was it
information?
Evan? Was it Evan?
I think Evan. So we don't
was
actually.
close.
So we don't know what happened to Evan. I think he had a mechanical on the bike, and I don't know that much detail about it. Do you know anything?
I haven't talked to him about it yet. I did notice that several of the other pros they broke down on the Ironman website the bike split into 3 different sections.
Sure.
And several of the other pros that I was looking at had bike splits in that middle section that were maybe a mile or 2 per hour slower than their average pace. Mm-hmm. And Evans was significantly lower, so I'm thinking
Almost 10 miles an
something
hour.
had to have happened.
Something happened, yeah.
It looked like, somewhere around that 40-mile marker, he had a mechanical is what it looked like from the results. But I'm sure that he'll come back on the podcast.
He did say he will backpedal for us next week.
Maybe he stopped for a nap. I'm
Could have
not
napped
sure.
it.
Naps are good.
It could have been some sort of like sea lion situation. No one knows.
Yeah.
I mean,
He had a-
on the bike.
he had
On the
a-
bike course.
He had a sea lion panic attack post swim.
It's possible.
It's
caught up with him.
possible.
Actually,
Little
his
land attack there, huh?
His swim looked pretty good, and I think that was one of the situations where he wasn't worried about the sea lions. But when he got on the bike, he had a little time to breathe.
Thought about it.
Thought about how close he got to a sea lion.
Freaked out.
Got 40 miles into the bike ride and had to take a break.
Stop for a pastry, maybe too.
Stop for a pastry. He
Maybe it
ran.
was pastry.
He ran okay. He swam. I thought he swam really well. I thought
He
he ran
swam
pretty
27. Which
Yeah,
is
27,
decent,
which I
and he
think is
ran
good.
127, which
is solid.
Which is solid.
It's a good run.
I think the bike. I think it was like. I feel like he biked really well, and the 3 splits that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Biked really well. Something happened. Biked really well. So I don't
Exactly.
think he had a bad day. I just think that he had a mechanical.
Something
so
went down.
we'll find out the real story soon enough. I don't know who won those races. I feel like I noticed Heather Jackson got 3rd in the females field, and I'm guessing
Jason West won
Okay.
the pro field.
Okay.
I don't know who that is either.
Yep. So
Cool. Anything else
any more
newsworthy?
triathlon news?
No more triathlon.
Moving on.
Please. The only interesting thing in the Vuelta, Espana,
España.
Primoz Roglic is still in the lead.
solid, yeah.
And
Did you know he was a ski jumper before?
Yeah.
He had a really bad wreck. Right. It's mentioned every friggin' time, isn't it?
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
joke.
Used to be a ski jumper.
His team is crushing it this year.
Jumbo Visma is doing great.
That's
Valverde is in second at this point, who's the reigning world champion, and Pogačar, or I don't know how to say his name, this 20-year-old from Slovenia is in 3rd at this point, and it looks like he is cementing his place on the podium, which is fantastic. What's going on in Slovenia? So Primoz Roglic is winning, Pogačar is in 3rd, and isn't Sagan from Slovenia as
Yep.
well? What the heck? It's a tiny little country, and are
They figured something out.
There's growth hormone in the water there.
That's what you do. you squeeze the syringe right into like the right into the water supply system, and there you go.
Anyway, that's happened in the Vuelta.
Awesome. Hey, listener hot lap.
Listener
Oh, boy.
hot lap.
This is
So last week we had Jerry on, and that went really well, I thought. And this week, our listener is actually sitting in the studio with us.
tough act to follow. Jerry
gonna
was good.
I was going to make him run outside and jump on his phone so we could talk to him, but since he's sitting here, we'll let him talk into the microphone. Matt, do you have any questions for our listener, Mr. Alan Plank?
Okay. I got a tough question for you.
Oh boy.
These guys should all be nervous because we got to drag you back into triathlon. So
Lance, do you have any questions for Alan?
Let me go.
let me finish my thought. Are you due for an Ironman PR? A personal record? Could you set a personal record in an Ironman distance race?
I can't say that I haven't thought about it.
You would absolutely crush your old PRs.
I definitely need to work on the running.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a hey. He could
That's what
crush.
it comes down
I
to.
could, it
He
could,
could he could crush his old PRs.
Have you done a few Ironmans?
I did one. I did Ironman Coeur d'Alene back in 2012.
Okay.
12:46, I believe, was my time, which I was pretty happy with. And then also in 2012 and 2013, I did the Leadman 250 in Bend, which had a 137-mile bike ride.
Oh.
And it took you up and over Bachelor twice on the Cascade Lakes Highway.
Yeah.
So I was tired after that.
It didn't run real well.
Those were both 11 and a half hour days, I believe. And the second one, it was like raining and hailing up on the mountain. It was cold. My hands were numb. I've been trying to work back into that kind of stuff, but yeah, I just had to focus on cycling this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the reasons that I think you're going to destroy triathlon when you come back is just because your biking is so good right now. So
Yeah.
Just got to make time for running and swimming.
Gonna
I
be
guess.
exciting.
It's hard.
No, you don't.
okay.
Lance, hit him with a question.
I want to know what your favorite segment on the show is.
Oh, good question.
Boy. You know, to be honest, I think the backpedal is my favorite segment.
See, there it is again.
I do like listening to you guys backpedal. I am one of the people that said maybe you guys should limit the backpedal a little bit.
Tighten it up
I
a
don't
little,
know.
huh?
I don't know though. It really is. I think it's beneficial to those of us listening that maybe don't have as much cycling experience to listen to you guys talk over the races that you've done and what went well and what didn't, so that we can learn from what you guys see out there on the courses. So
Gotcha. How about a guest that you would like to see us have on the show?
Oh, I mean, totally, Lance Armstrong, absolutely.
Lance Hepler's also good.
I'm
but
right here,
Lance
baby.
Hepler's here all the time. You know, I grew up. I'm 35, and so I grew up with my dad and I watching the Tour de France when Lance was winning over and over again.
Sure.
And I was a fan. And aside from a couple years there where he wasn't liked as much, I think he's definitely made a turn again, and he's coming back around. And I would love to have him here around and talking to you guys on this podcast.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be most excellent. You've been on our team, so for what, 2 years now?
About
a couple
that,
years.
yeah.
What drew you to wanting to be on the Dialed Cycling team?
I ran into you guys. So I had been training with another local triathlon team, the Lacamas Swim and Sport crew, and I found that my cycling, I kind of wanted to get out off the front of that group a lot.
Sure.
And then I just kind of started riding on my own. And then I kept running into you guys out and about on the road and was like, hey, you mind if I tag along? And, all I've got is this triathlon bike. I hope you don't mind me joining a group ride on this thing. And
we're going to get to
that. You said no, come on out, join us. And
you
then
did some interesting rides too. Like you would climb Mount, which, I was trying to think, not Mount Hood, but didn't you do some of the big mountain climbs on your tri bike and crush the descents? And
over Johnston Ridge, going up that looks at the north side of Mount St. Helens.
The Windy Ridge.
Yeah,
Evan talks about it
and
all
the
the
Windy
time.
Ridge.
Yeah.
So there's roads basically that go both sides to look at Mount St. Helens, and I've done them from both directions on my time trial bike.
He did that 10,000 foot climb thing on a 55. You have a 55.
I have a 55 big chain ring.
It's just ridiculous.
I didn't keep it in that chain ring on the steep stuff. That was for the downhill.
It was fun because Alan can descend really well, and that's one of the things I do pretty well. And so I remember coming to the descent and just bombing it and going really fast and turning around, and Alan's right on my wheel. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've got somebody who can descend with me.
Yeah, I had never thought about it before I heard you say it, Lance, but clear conscience.
Yes.
I guess I have one.
That's right. Descending's about a clear conscience.
You guys killing me, man.
Matt, you got any more questions for him?
No, that triathlon question is really what I wanted to hit him. Squeeze in there.
Lance, any questions?
What are you hoping to do for the next year? What's your plans? More biking or more triathlon?
So the goal is just to get better at everything, right? Swimming, biking, and running for me. But definitely I'm looking at starting up an actual training plan. I've got a pretty solid Zwift set up with a projector and a screen in front of my bike and good fans in my home gym. So I think I'm going to put in some quality training on the bike this winter and see if I can get stronger and faster.
I like it.
On just the bike?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna run too. I've been thinking about maybe doing like a 100K run next year, one of the longer ultra type runs as
you
well.
like that?
No.
So
no.
They're fun. I mean, they're beautiful. It's just like mountain biking or gravel riding or something like that, where it's just like
it's
you're
really
out
more
on
like
trails.
speed hiking. They don't really run the whole time. So,
all right, you got any questions for us, Alan?
I have a question that I've been thinking about and hoping that would get brought up, but it hasn't. So, Lance, I'd like an update on the Whoop strap. What have you
Good call.
learned from it? What do you see as benefits?
Good
Is it worth it?
question. Okay, so the Whoop Strap is this wearable band that you wear 24 hours a day. It measures your heart rate and your heart rate variability and your sleep cycles, and it's supposed to give you an idea of like how rested and how primed you are, ready for big output.
Sure.
And I'm on the fence. So I've had it since training camp, so it's been like 8 months that I've been wearing it. And I'm now used to having it on my wrist. Initially, I'm like, I don't want to wear this thing all the time. But I'm now used to having it on my wrist. I find that it's one more tool to kind of look at things. It's really helped me focus on my sleep and what quality of sleep I'm getting, and the things that help me get more quality sleep, like not drinking caffeine after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, trying to go to bed at a certain time, not using my screen device while I'm in bed, or you try to those types of things, trying to get more quality sleep. But there's been mornings when I've woken. Every morning when you wake up, it gives you a score, like how rested and how ready you are.
They call that strain, right?
Yeah, like what your strain score is. Let me look here so that you can. So like today's strain score, I actually slept really well last night. I got over 8 hours of sleep, which is rare for me. But I had a 96% recovery score last night.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Baby.
But one of the first things you said when you came here today was you felt what? Exhausted, right?
Exhausted.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying this is another tool.
Yeah.
Because there have been days when I've woken up with like a 30% recovery score, which would be in the red, which means you need to take it easy. And I've raced that day and killed it.
Interesting.
Yeah, my thing is I worry that like that's I don't know how much we buy into all this mental game of racing and stuff, but it's like, here's this thing that's saying you shouldn't have a good race. It's like, do you want someone to tell you that before a race? Like when I'm talking to these high school kids, they're definitely like mental, basket cases. And so you're always like, you're going to have a great race today. I can tell, it's like, and then they're like, they believe that. And then they go out there and they do it. But if you tell someone, no, not today, this is not going to be your day. Like all of a sudden as they're racing, that's going to be there. And maybe cycling is a little different than running, but I don't know.
Friday, I woke up and had a 10% recovery score.
Wow.
And I had a big race on Saturday. Yeah. And I still raced well on Saturday, not bad. So, I think it has its place. It's a tool. It's a tool. It definitely helps me sleep better and help me focus a lot better on recovery and sleep. But I really try not to get hung up on the fact that, am I in the green today? Am I in the yellow today? Am I in the red today? Because if I'm in the red today and there's a race on the schedule, I still want to go do the race.
Maybe you just don't look at it race morning.
No, you can't help it. It like tells you right off the bat, So
now you also wear a Garmin Fenix watch, correct?
Yes.
And does that capture a lot of the same data?
It's a Fenix 3, so
it's a little older.
It's the older model. It does not capture the same data.
I'd be curious to see a comparison of the two in terms of like, what kind of information, because the newer Garmin watches will capture all of your sleep data. I don't know if they've got the oxygen sensor in there. Is that a part of the Whoop Strap, or is that just purely heart rate?
It's heart rate variability,
right? Gotcha.
Which is a difficult thing to describe. But heart rate variability is your body's ability to go to full maximum and like on short notice.
Sure.
I'm probably totally butchering this explanation, but it's your ability to recruit everything to perform at a really high level.
Gotcha.
The lower heart rate variability you have, the less you can do that. The higher, the better. And so that is a difficult thing to measure, and it can really only be measured during the deep sleep cycle when you're asleep, because your heart rate variability changes while you're awake. If you have any type of flight or fight response, it changes immediately. If you're all relaxed, it changes immediately. So it's measured during a deep sleep cycle, not the REM sleep cycle, but the deep sleep cycle. So you have to have something that knows that you're in the deep sleep cycle and can measure that to give it an actual valid number to kind of look at. So it's complicated. I'm old. I'm almost 50 years old, and so my heart rate variability usually ranges somewhere between 80 and 100 beats per minute, or whatever that means.
Right.
But well-trained, rested athletes, their heart rate variability might be 250. So I'm like a third or a fourth of my heart rate variability. My heart rate variability is less for younger athletes or for more well-trained athletes.
What I find interesting about heart rate variability, I tracked mine for a while, and I thought it's a really interesting metric because normally we look at like resting heart rates and all these things like that. But heart rate variability, it's almost, to me, it's the way it sounds is kind of like opposite of the way that you mentally think it would be. So if your heart rate is nice and regular, there you have a very like low variability, right? Then you'd think that'd be great. Turns out that that's like your body trying to recover. Your heart is just nice and steady, and it's locked onto this rhythm. And so you actually want this higher number, like this variability, to be going up. Like your heart, bounces up 1 minute, 80 beats per minute, then you're back down to towards your resting heart rate. So that variability is actually a good thing. That means your body is amped up and ready to go for a workout.
Ready to perform.
Yeah.
It can respond to changes, demands.
When you learn about heart rate variability, it's counterintuitive, I thought, but it's definitely, I think, a metric that more people should potentially pay attention to, because it's generally saying like, are you ready to go? Like, is your body prepped and ready to go? At least at kind of that cardiovascular system level. So.
Right. I knew nothing about it until I started wearing the Whoop strap. I didn't even know it was a thing. I hadn't even heard about it. So.
Gotcha. So real quick, how much does the device cost, and what's the monthly fee?
It's just a monthly subscription service.
You don't have to pay for the device. You have to.
They send it to you for free if you sign up with their monthly subscription service.
Gotcha.
I want to say I paid like $110 for 12 months or something like that, or 130. I can't remember what I paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been using it for just shy of a year.
Yeah.
Will you re-sign with him for another year?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I will or not, to be honest with you, because I don't like wearing the thing every day. That's annoying, but I really like having the data.
Sure.
So I have to weigh whether it's worth it to put up with wearing the thing over having the data. And I think learning, really how to recover better and what good sleep looks like, I've learned a lot just in the last 9 months in just trying to be with my sleep. So I don't know if I'll do it again.
There might be some other options, so we can talk about it,
That's a longer response than I was expecting from that question, so that was a good question. Thank you very much. We might have to take that into another topic someday.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's a good idea.
I've got more questions if we have time.
Not for Lance. Yeah, go ahead.
So I did want to ask Matt, how's the shoulder feeling when you swim these days?
So it's actually, when I first got in the water and just was like, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get out of the pool, right? Yep. I was super surprised because the buoyancy of the water kind of pushes my arm up a little bit. I've been able to swim, and not only that, like, I've been able to swim surprisingly fast, which is crazy to me. And it really kind of reinforces the fact that you don't have to be strong. You don't have to have a lot of muscles to swim. It's all about like streamline and your position in the water and all this stuff that's, and that's why we get beat by like 12-year-old girls all the time. It has way more to do with feel of the water. And so all of that stuff's still good. And so I've done some stuff like broken 130 and 100 meter, split or whatever. I know that's not super impressive, but like, it's not that far off of stuff that I was doing before I got hurt. And the shoulder's doing well. And what happens is as I swim for a little while, once I get towards 1,000 meters or so, it gets really sore and achy. And so it is what it is. I think it's getting better. The most I've done was just over 2,000 meters. I was visiting my uncle, who's a big time swimmer, and it was just like, I got to take advantage of this. So I swam with him, and I'm hoping that that by kind of the beginning of next year that I'll be back full 100%.
Nice.
So we'll see.
I think you'll find that as you keep trying to extend the distance a little bit more, it'll still be sore, but you'll go further before it gets that sore, and you'll find
sore's okay. It's just like It's not like a sharp pain or anything. It's just sore.
It's a dull ache.
Yeah.
I think I've separated both my shoulders unofficially.
you.
So, but nothing as bad as what you did.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it.
Good to hear.
So yeah, we can swim. Except for I
Nice.
can't swim as fast as you,
Wow.
but we could swim some.
you
Yeah.
might be surprised. I've been spending way more time on my
Too much
bike
time on the bike.
than in the water
Okay.
lately.
As you should.
That's good.
Any other questions?
One more, Jake, for you.
Uh-oh.
When's the Zwift group ride thing
Oh,
getting
yeah.
started? I'm kind of excited about it.
I think it's going to be the second, possibly the third Tuesday. No, yeah, Tuesdays. We're doing those on Tuesdays in October. So pretty much once the weather turns and it's looking pretty consistently bad outside, that's when we'll kick that on. I'll probably put something up for the second week of October. Unless it's nice out, then I'm sorry, I'm going to go ride my bike outside because I need to take full advantage of that just for
Fair
me
enough.
personally. But it will be early October, early to mid-October.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yep. That's always a good time, even though we're indoors on trainers. So cool. Thank you for those questions. And
Good questions.
thank you for being on the listener hot lap.
Happy to be here.
Let's jump into our topic for today. Cycling and triathlon etiquette. And this goes out to Jerry, who was on last week.
Yeah,
made that
that's
recommendation.
a
Like,
good
you know what? I
recommendation.
think that's a good thing to jump into. We've touched on it before. We've touched on it a bunch of times actually. But let's get into the weeds on this one. Let's talk about all things etiquette. I want to start with Matt, if that's okay, to get the triathlon stuff out of the way. Sorry.
Get it? You mean by get it out of the way? You mean it's the most? It's the most important.
Oh yeah.
It's the most important. We
Yeah.
should definitely reference it first. Okay.
What's some good for both of you boys? What's some good etiquette that we can put out there for the folks who like to
Sure.
run that whole triathlon
Okay.
circle?
I've mentioned this before on this podcast, but it was a long time ago. Long time ago. I would say if I'm kind of just reaching for triathlon specific stuff, if you're drafting someone in the water, perfectly fine, perfectly legal. But if you're slapping their feet every other stroke, that's annoying, and I feel like that's crossing the line as far as etiquette stuff goes. And so don't do that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl.
Gotcha. All right. Alan, do you have any other triathlon stuff?
Yeah, going back to the whole discussion earlier on Lucy Charles and Keenlay, man, if you're in a non-drafting race, stay to the right, accept a pass.
Yeah.
It's really pretty simple, and it could alleviate issues in somebody else's race. I mean, I truly feel that the guy in front of Keenlay kind of ruined his race by the way he was riding on the road,
Right.
And that's pretty unfair.
Other side of the coin, if you're new to triathlon, most of the races that you might be doing would probably be, it would be illegal to draft. And so don't draft, which means don't get right behind another cyclist and be like, oh man, it's so much easier to ride here. Right, Lance?
The first triathlon I ever did was in the state of
love this
Washington
story.
at some pond up near Seattle. And I was new to cycling. I was new to triathlon and really didn't know the rules. I swam well. It was like an 11-mile bike because it was like a sprint. And 3 miles into it, I rolled up on somebody's wheel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit on this guy's wheel. And I literally sat on his wheel for like 3.5 miles. And he turned around and yelled at me. And I thought, what, dude? I'm like, this is way easier back here. And he's like, you can't draft. I'm like, what is drafting?
Right. That's the thing. I think a lot of triathlon races don't go over the rules. Don't talk about what you should. And so where do you learn?
Yeah,
Except for someone
exactly.
yelling at you.
And
right?
I'm assuming
So-
you didn't get a penalty. So
No, there
maybe
was
the
there was
enforcement-
nobody enforcing it.
Yeah.
I was totally clueless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I finally went around him and he like cussed at me again and I'm like, this sport sucks. And it was totally my fault. So yeah, don't draft
Okay.
in triathlons.
Running, if you're out training and you're running with your headphones on, just recognize the fact that there might be someone faster behind you. There might be a bike group behind you that wants to pass you. And if you're wearing your headphones, make sure you're aware of the surroundings, I would say. You're not really supposed to wear headphones in a race. If you do, be careful.
Aftershocks, can you wear those in races? Because they're not in your ear? I had
Probably
somebody ask me that question the other day. I'm like, you know what? I don't know.
it would depend on the race director probably. They
Yep.
get to make the call.
Gotcha.
So
How about peeing in the pool? Is that
Yes.
bad etiquette?
I think that The chlorine that they use at the pool where I'm at turns green when you pee in it.
Excellent.
Or blue, I'm not sure. But so I'm
Definitely
always
changes
not
colors.
I'm always
not
trying.
true.
I'm always trying to test that chlorine and make sure it's working. So constantly peeing in the pool.
Don't swallow the pool water. Period.
You guys swim in each other's pee. You know that, right?
Try not to think about it.
If someone's drafting me really bad, they're touching my toes. I just let it rip.
Just let it roll.
I just let it rip. No, I don't do that, but if I could, I would. I don't think I could pee and do the swim stroke correctly, but I would if I could.
Nice. All right. Lance, do you have any etiquette rules that you would like to jump into?
I'd like to talk about group ride etiquette. Sure.
Yes,
stuff,
let's do that.
Because there's a lot of things that, especially newbies, just don't know that what you should and shouldn't do.
Yep.
One of them, the first thing in a group ride, you got to call crap out in the road.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you're on somebody's wheel, you don't see stuff coming. You need to point it out or.
Yep. I think there's different levels too, right? Where it's almost like the more you ride with something, the more you learn how they call stuff out. And so,
right,
if there's something, like really bad broken glass and clearly someone had just gone to town on some window or something that's all in the road, you're going to want to be say something loud, glass, get over, everyone, let the group know. And then other times it's man, there's a small bump here. Let me just point at it.
Were you on the ride with Michael Gilbert? It was a beaches ride.
I was not. Luckily, I was not.
I wasn't
on that
either.
one.
But it was a group ride, pace line, fast group
Yes.
ride. It was a bunch of triathletes. So everybody's on aero bars. That's another issue. We'll talk about that.
Was this the broken fork?
Yes,
There
and
was-
collarbone, and
there
I heard
was
about it.
a box of books or a trash bag full of books that was in the road.
in the road. And the first few guys pointed it out, and Mike missed the point out or something like that, and he drilled it and went right over the
I think the
top.
story's worse than that, so I don't know if we should share it. But basically, I think one of the guys missed calling it out or whatever, and feels so guilty about it, and so it's one of those tough situations.
Do
Where
you want me to talk about it?
you were there, weren't you?
I was there.
Oh,
Yeah. Should we not talk
Jake
about
was
it?
there.
I don't know. I feel like we shouldn't talk
Jake
about
just
it.
went to the bathroom, so we missed the beginning.
Yeah, I would have jumped in on that sooner, but you know what? I kept an ear out because Lance is kind of loud and his voice echoes, so I was listening. Matt got talking about peeing in the pool, and it just made me had to go. Sorry.
I think you brought that one up.
There was somebody that was out front doing his best Chris Froome impersonation, staring at a stem,
Staring at a stem.
going hard, and he missed the it was a big giant trash bag full of binders and folders and that kind of stuff, and he missed it until the last second, and he looked up and swerved around it and didn't have time to point it out, and so he just missed it, and Mike went straight into it and flew over his bars. So it was just an unfortunate thing.
And I will say that those two guys have been riding together for over a decade.
Right,
so
long time.
They're best buddies, and
And I heard about all the triathletes on the aero bars. Well, I was back there on my road bike in the very back watching this, thinking this is going to end very badly, but I'm going to give kudos to the rest of the group. They all avoided everything, so hats off to them for not piling in.
So next etiquette tip, what's the etiquette on showing up to a big group ride with aero bars?
Don't do it. In general, don't do it unless you know everybody there and they've told you, come on out, just like we told Alan. So
and that, I think that's tough because I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to be, it's if this is the only bike you have, what do you do? Do you just
But if that's the
you
case,
kind of have to know the group, I think.
do you sit on the back then? Because that's the trick with aero bars is they're not as agile, right? It depends on the rider. But that's the issue is you just can't react as quickly, especially if you're in the aero bars.
If you're in the
and
aero
not
bars, definitely.
You don't have hands on the brakes potentially.
So if Matt showed up, and I know Matt,
I would.
I don't have a problem. I don't
with
have a
that.
problem with Matt because I know how he rides. I know how he handles his bike. I know what kind of a rider he is. I'm happy with that. He's predictable. There's a lot of other people that are very unpredictable that might even still be somewhat new to the sport, and I don't want them intermingling with our group because I don't want somebody to get hurt, including them.
If I'm on a big group ride and I see somebody in air bars, I just stay away from them.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know.
Are they going to be in their bars?
Are they going to be in their bars or not? Are they going to
group?
clip my wheel or not? So
Maybe I'm too much of an optimist here, but I feel like in most cases, if you just take the time to have the conversation with people ahead of time, as soon as they join the group, hey, I see that you have aero bars on the bike. If you're going to be behind someone or in the group, stay off the aero bars. Keep your hands near the brakes. And I think after you've had that conversation, it should be reasonably safe. I mean, I think it's tricky because every group is different. Every group, you have a dynamic group of cyclists and whatever it is. And I think you kind of have to figure it out. Is it going to be okay if I bring an aero bike to this? This is the bike that I need to ride or whatever it is, or this is my only choice. In some groups, it's not. It's just not going to be okay for you to have your aero bike or whatever.
If you showed up at the Savi shootout here in Portland on Sunday morning with aero bars, you would be ridiculed.
Yeah.
Or dropped.
Well, just asked not to ride with the group or whatever. Yeah. I think that's okay. I just think it's one of those things where, there are people for sure that just have aero bikes, right? And you just have to let, I think it's just if you can have a conversation before where it's hey, this is the bike that I've got, guys. If you're already at that point, then you're probably okay, where it's I'll ride off to the side or away from the group or whatever it is, but I still would prefer to have people around to ride with.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like in a regular group ride, once you've had that conversation, you should be good. Now, you're talking about the Savi shootout. That's basically an unsanctioned race.
Correct.
And you definitely can't show up to a road race with a triathlon bike.
That's true.
That's a step too far.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Agreed. All right. Evan is not here. And I'm looking across the table, and that's not Evan, and that came out of my mouth. So, Alan, as he takes a nice big drink of whatever it is he's drinking that's blue over there, do you have any etiquette things that you'd like to bring up for us to talk about?
Man, yeah, there's one thing. So somebody almost died in the Ochoco gravel Roubaix, I'm pretty sure, because he was riding right behind me, and somebody in front of me tapped their brakes. Oh, I don't know if he was following the person in front of him too.
Was it a big group?
It was a pretty big group.
Okay, yeah. So you were 8th or 10th wheel and
in a group.
Okay, in a group, yeah.
And somebody hit his brakes, and I also hit my brakes.
You had to grab brakes.
I had to grab brakes
Not
to keep
touch
from hitting
brakes.
him.
Yeah.
And in fact, so I had been following about a foot or so back from him, which is more space than I usually do in a group ride because I was on my mountain bike instead of a road or gravel bike. And I ended up having to grab brakes, and my front tire actually went up next to his in the process, but the guy behind me actually touched my rear wheel when I grabbed my brakes as well. And I'm pretty sure he almost went down, and he said some choice words, and I think he was upset at me, and I said, hey, I'm sorry, but people really need to be careful in group rides, grabbing a hold of their brakes, and the chain reaction that causes.
Exactly. And a lot of that stuff is the responsibility of the person up front, because whatever you do up front is going to be what causes the crashes in the back. If it's grabbing brakes, if it's not pointing something out, if it's just not paying attention in general, that's where things go sideways. And it's generally, you're not the one that's going to be dealing with the problem there. It's a butterfly effect that gets worse as it goes back through the group.
Yeah, so, it propagates and just gets exponential the further back you go in the group.
Yeah, so you've always got to keep your eyes up. You've got to be paying attention to debris in the road, to stop signs, to cars, to whatever can come up. You've got to be able to communicate that, both with hand signals, with verbal communication, and then you've got to let people know what's going on.
So that brings up 3 things that are safety oriented with a group ride: not grabbing your brakes, holding your line, not riding erratically, and that comes with experience to be able to hold your line, because if you get too squirrely, you're gonna clip somebody behind you, or they're gonna clip you. They're only gonna clip you if they're half-wheeling you. So that's another thing you don't do, is half-wheeling. How would you describe half-wheeling? Because sometimes people don't even know what that means.
Yeah. No, I think, if your front wheel is pulled up next to someone's rear wheel, so you always need to keep in mind that the front wheel is the wheel that, can move, as we turn our bikes, we're using our front wheel with a slight twist or whatever it is.
And it's how you keep balance.
Right. Yeah. And so that one, is not fixed in place like the rear wheel. If someone's back wheel hits your front wheel, they're going to probably be fine. They're going to notice a little bump or whatever it is. And the front wheel, on the other hand, once that thing gets shifted, you're going down.
You're going down.
And it's not fun.
Yeah.
So, the half wheeling definition probably would say, like, if you're pulling up that front wheel next to someone's back wheel, that's the way I look at it, or the way I think of the half wheeling kind of situation. It's more ideal to kind of line up behind their back wheel, kind of in line.
Yeah. You typically want to be 6 to 12 inches away from the wheel in front of you, just to keep everything kind of nice and tight, and you don't want to get too close. I mean, if you're less than 6 inches away, you better really know that rider in front of you really well, and they better be very predictable, and you better know the route, or things are going to get sloppy fast.
And then the opposite side of that is, like, if you let too much space in the gap, that's kind of looked down upon as well, right? Because then someone's either sprinting to kind of either get back on or whatever it is. So what you said was just kind of like somewhere between the foot and 6 inches. I don't know exactly what you said, but something like
6
that.
6 to 12 inches, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like those are ideal, kind of placements of where you should put your bike.
Yeah, and like if you're doing that, then the whole chain behind you is going to start to fall off a little bit, and then as soon as you accelerate, typically speaking, unless you're doing some sort of a pace line work, you'll find the slower riders in the back that are already having a hard time holding on it as it is, and then if you start to like accelerate to catch back up, they can only do that so many times before they get dropped. So if you keep it neat and tidy, everybody gets the benefit of the draft. And you're not going to be doing any of the yo-yoing, the back and forth, the accordion kind of stretch and release. You're not going to do that, and you're not going to be dropping people off the back that are just trying to go for a ride and hold on for dear life.
I think it's important to talk about that kind of like mentality of like, as you're riding in a group and you're doing, unless you're racing and you're doing some weird race strategies, even in race strategies, it's kind of looked down upon, but you have this kind of like all for one mentality of like, we're trying not to pop people. We're not trying to,
the group will go faster as a group than individually.
And so it is kind of we're all trying to look out for each other. I don't want Lance to crash. Like, I don't like, these are the things that, other people looking inside our sport might think like, oh, well, then if Lance crashes, then that's one less person that you have to race against.
That's only the last 200 meters. The rest of the race, no.
I think our sport is good in that we are all looking out for our health as a whole.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. In that same breath, we talked about that 6 to 12 inches. A lot of times you're going to be riding two abreast when you're in a bigger group. If you've got 30 people in a group, it's a lot safer to have 15 rows of two people as opposed to one long strung out road of 30 riders that's going to have that whole accordion thing. And legally, we're not supposed to go beyond two abreast on the road. So
that was the next thing on my list. Is don't ride more than two abreast.
Yeah, so you want to keep it more condensed. It's easier for cars to pass two abreast. And then when you stay two abreast too, you don't want to have 3 or 4 feet in between you. You're supposed to have about 12 inches in between the two of you, like from shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
That's an ideal setup right there.
Yeah.
So just kind of keep that in mind next time you're out on the road. Don't be riding 3 abreast wondering why people are screaming at you driving by.
Especially if you're on a busy road or if there's traffic, you should not be more than 2 abreast.
Yeah. And in certain situations too, use your better judgment. If it makes more sense, think of it from a motorist perspective. If it makes more sense to put us all single file and try and keep a pace that everybody can hold, then do that if it's in the best interest of all the cyclists on the road as well as the motorist out there. Granted, we can do 2 abreast if we want, but just use your best judgment.
There's lots of places that we ride in rural, the Vancouver, Portland area where we can ride 2 or 3 abreast and it's totally safe. And then you get to a busier road and we are riding single file for the next 2 miles until we're off this busy road. So, yeah.
And communicate that as well. Generally speaking, when you're out on a ride, there's a ride leader or a couple of them or people that are like experienced people. Those people need to speak up and tell people, hey, this is what we're going to do for this next stretch. And then, as you do that ride more and more often, people will just naturally fall into line there. And what I don't like seeing is when there's a bike lane and we've got two riding abreast, you've got one person riding on the fog line and then the other person riding out into traffic when we could have both people in the bike lane.
Right.
Just so we don't piss off the motorists any more than we already have.
Right.
Even though legally we can do what we're doing right there, but just use your better judgment. Just try and create that harmony between motorists and cyclists as much as you possibly can, and do what's in your best interest to stay safe. Getting hit by a car does not feel good.
No.
All right. What else you got for us, Lance? Any more group dynamics?
No headphones.
Oh, no, Lance. You're not allowed to say that.
If I'm riding alone, I do have stuff in my ears. But on a group ride, I generally pull them out and put them away. If if I like ride 5 or 10 miles to get to the group ride, I pull my headphones out to be with the group because I want to hear somebody calling out crap in the road or that there's a turn coming or that there's a car behind us. Yeah, I want to hear that stuff.
To go back to the calling out part when I stepped away for a brief second there, what is your guys' thought on everybody calling out something? Like if
it's got to be the person in front. That's their job. I don't think everyone has to do it, but sometimes I will notice in a group situation where you almost have like this front pack, someone calls it out in the front and maybe the first 5 people or so like notice, and you can kind of tell that the next group of 5 or whatever, that not that they're their own pack, they're still part of the main pack, but you can kind of tell that they're not noticing. And so I think sometimes it's okay to have like another reminder. So I would say everyone in the entire thing does not have to say like, there's a pothole, whatever it is. Like
I will never get mad at someone for calling out something dangerous on the road.
Yeah. So that was going to be my next thing. Stopping is a big one because a lot of times people get caught off guard. Like, oh crap, we're stopping, and they're grabbing that brake. What we just talked about a moment ago. Stopping and saying that out loud is obviously important for the lead person, but I don't have a problem when more than 1 or 2 or 3 people say it. If everybody says it, I'm fine with that. But I don't think every single person needs to call it every little thing, that you can think of out there. So
communication goes a long ways in groups.
It's better to over communicate though, but for sure. Sorry, just want to put that. And then you talked quickly too about hand signals. That's another one that we don't need to get into all the hand signals because it's kind of hard to describe stuff over, airwaves here. That is better shown in person. But if you're not sure what the hand signals are for, things like train tracks or manhole covers or low hanging branches or glass, I mean, there's like kind of a hand language or sign language, if you will, for cyclists that they use to point stuff out. If you're not sure what the stuff is, next time you're in a group ride, ask what these things mean and learn them and use them because it's a good way to communicate with people. Yeah. So cool. All right. Who's got some more stuff here? More etiquette. Bring it.
I've got a couple things.
Bring it, Matt.
So we talked about kind of pace lining and things like that, and that kind of has its own like rules and things like that. One thing that I would say is if you find yourself in a pace line and you end up working yourself up to the front and you feel like you're not one of the strongest riders, i.e. myself in this situation, do a shorter pull, but try and keep the general pace of the pace line the same. So if the group's going 25 miles an hour, you find yourself in the front and it's too fast for you, right? You don't really feel like you need to spend an hour up front pulling at 25 miles an hour. Just do a shorter pull. Maybe the group's pulling for a minute or so each. Do a quick 20-second pull. Take a little bit of a pull. Try to keep the pace the same and then pull out early. So pull short as opposed to pulling slow, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. And if you can't pull that pace at all, just go up there and cycle off.
Cycle through.
And there's a lot of times, and that gets to be really annoying, and it becomes unsafe too because it will start to cause the group to like yo-yo a lot. Where if we're going 25 and then someone gets up there and they do their 30-second pull at 22 miles an hour, it becomes annoying, and it becomes a situation where everybody's all of a sudden slowing down and half wheeling and braking. You got to be careful with that.
And one of the benefits to the pace line is you can kind of, it's not perfect, but you can kind of like have this wash amongst riders that are faster and slower, because a faster person can pull up front longer, and then you have a big group of people drafting that might not be quite as fast, and then the people that are slightly slower take shorter pulls, and so you do kind of have a bit of a wash in the workout of where everyone gets a strong workout, gets the workout that they need. And I think that's one of the reasons that we all like doing pace line workouts. They're dangerous, but they're fun. You go fast, and I feel like you can get a good workout with, like I'm not as fast as Lance, right? For example, we can get a good workout working together if he takes longer pulls and I take shorter pulls.
Yes.
So I think it's good.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Cool. Get any more?
I've got another one if we want.
Go ahead.
One of the great things about riding with Jake is he won't bat an eye. If you have a flat or whatever it is, he'll stop. He'll help you. He loves doing that. But I would recommend for people, as part of cycling etiquette, to make sure that you do bring like a flat repair kit. Like all of us are pretty much willing to lend tubes and lend stuff and sit and take our time and help you with your flat and whatever it is. But I think it's important that you know how to handle a flat yourself. And then in addition to that you don't just expect someone to just have stuff for you.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Like I don't think it's that big of a pet peeve of mine or anything like that, but it's just one of those things where it's like, no, you should probably have flat repair stuff yourself. Like I'm happy to give you my stuff or whatever. And I always do. Like, I mean, the people that I ride with are people that I've been riding with for years. I'm happy to like, here's a tube, like no big deal. But at the same time, like you should have this stuff. Like you shouldn't just rely on other people.
How do you feel about riding with the guy that will pull his tube out and he's got like 14 patches on it and he has no more tubes and he asks you for one? But you always go out and ride with that guy, and he's always pulling that same tube out that now has 15 patches on it. What about that guy?
Then we heckle Evan Price. We just heckle him.
Buy a new tube.
Yeah.
Here, have this one.
Like
you don't even have to give me another one back.
Yeah. No, I think heckling is the right way to handle the situation, but it's definitely cycling etiquette for sure.
And in that same breath, when somebody does give you a tube and a CO2, and a lot of times they'll say, don't worry about it. Still, go out of your way to go get a new tube and a CO2. And next time you see that person, hand it back to him and say, thank you very much. So,
and replace your tire if you're getting a flat every ride.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Evan Price.
Oh, poor Evan's not even here.
Hammer him.
All right, cool. Lance, do you have any more? You're out.
I'm out.
Alan, you got any more?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, I'm going to rifle off some here. Don't litter.
Oh, yeah.
You're taking your little
It's a
gel
good
pack, and that gel pack, when you're done with it, that doesn't go on the street.
Common sense.
That goes in your jersey pocket. Take it home with you.
I don't know if that's cycling etiquette or just human etiquette.
Yes. Well, since we're talking about that,
it's hard when you watch the professionals. They just chuck their stuff all the time. Bottles, trash, whatever. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
We're not professionals.
We're not professionals.
There's fans picking those up.
Right.
Yeah. The new rule is they're not allowed to toss bottles unless they can toss them to fans or they can toss them in feed zones. Like, and that was at the tour. Even.
Oh wow! I didn't know that. That's good info.
It's a new rule.
You couldn't just chuck it in a ditch.
But
somewhere.
I saw so many rule violations
Right.
that whatever. Okay. But it is a new rule.
Why am I just thinking in my head like, I would so love to chuck these at tourists or like not tourists, but the bystanders watching the race, like see if I could hit that guy in the head. Yeah, that'd be funny. They've got like a whole point system going on.
And a lot of the time in those pro races, like you're watching the tour, they're either tossing those bottles in crosswind situations or going uphill.
Yeah.
So they're not going to take anybody's heads off with it.
Yeah, that's not fun. You are never too pro not to wave to somebody.
Yes.
Say hello to your fellow cyclists out there. Seriously.
Absolutely.
It's like we're all in this together. Just say hi and make friends.
Choice words underneath my breath when someone doesn't wave back.
Disclaimer here: if I ever don't wave to you when I'm riding with a backpack on, it's because I'm commuting and I'm late to work. So I'm moving.
Yeah. Disclaimer: I
can't
curse
see
We'll
because
curse your
I'm
name.
pushing so hard to get to work on time.
And it doesn't always have to be a wave. Some people aren't comfortable. Like my wife, she still isn't super
Right,
comfortable.
totally.
Take her hands off the bars, and so she won't do it unless she absolutely have to. But you know what? A head nod works just the same.
You can notice a head nod.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you just a little tip of the hat to you, a little tip of the head. Do it. We talked about flats. You get a flat tire. Be conscious of where you pull over. Don't set up shop to change your tire right in the middle of the bike lane where other cyclists are going to have to come around you or where a car could mistakenly drift over. Get your backside off of the road. Get yourself in a situation where you're not going to be impeding on anybody's ability to come and go and change your tire there.
Yeah.
So, usually I'll look for like a tree or something like
Yep.
that I can like hang the saddle from so I don't have to throw my bike on the ground or something that I can hook it to, but always get out of there. And then when you're done changing your flat, guess what? That tube, it comes with you.
Yes, goes back in your pocket.
Yeah. And don't let Evan steal it from you and put the 16th patch on there.
That's right. Don't litter.
And so, take your turn out front. We talked about that. Be responsible for yourself. That's good. Oh, this is a good one for Lance. Don't be the Friday hero. Fridays are reserved for recovery rides. Going out and doing a nice, easy little, like, kind of getting the legs ready for the weekend. And all of a sudden, Lance is hammering off the front, chasing a KOM like a Labrador chasing a tennis ball.
But
And the whole group is like, what in the world just happened?
Are Fridays really reserved in cycling? Is this like a cycling thing that like
Yes.
so running, like I feel like Sundays are reserved for long runs. Is that a real thing? Like is cycling
Yes.
are Fridays really reserved?
No, Jake just made it up.
I didn't know if
Yes, it is. It's a
Matt's
recovery day.
being serious.
It's an active recovery ride day because you typically
Just because you made that Friday recovery rides on the group, or is this like a thing
That's
that's
a
been going
cycling
around
thing.
for like a 20, 30 year thing?
It's
Go ask
kind of
Google.
a cycling thing.
Yes,
Kind of a cycling
because you'll
thing,
do your workouts throughout the week, really.
Sure.
So
And
usually,
you
like
race-
early
you
in the
race a lot
week,
on Saturday.
like Sunday's gonna be like a long day or a recovery day. Monday can be the same thing as well, and then you've got your interval workout that you're gonna be doing your quality like threshold kind of stuff, and then Friday is usually gonna be a day that you need to recover from all that stuff so that you can go out and hammer the group ride on Saturday or go do a race or.
No, I think it makes sense. I just wasn't aware that it was a thing.
It is a thing.
Friday
And now
recovery
you
rides.
know.
Unless there's a tailwind or there's a
tailwind.
KOM in your case.
Tailwind situation, guys.
Tailwind situation.
Oh
Fair.
my goodness. And then we kind of talked about this a little bit. Whenever you go out on group rides, there's always going to be a slowest person. And unless it's clearly defined that it is a group drop ride. So like the Savi Island shootout, like we talked about there, that's a group ride, but it's kind of an unofficial race. Guys are going to get dropped off of that because you've got Cat 5s going out there and trying to keep up with Cat 1
It's
guys.
a
who are
drop
just-
ride. If you get dropped, you're on your own.
Exactly.
Period. Yeah.
But usually most rides are not that way. They'll say what kind of a ride it is, but you've almost always got somebody out there who is going to be like the weakest link, if you will. Look out for that person. Don't go out in the hills and just go hammering everything and all of a sudden, oh yeah, so-and-so, they fell off 45 minutes ago. Don't leave that person out there, please.
yeah.
Try and be respectful of that. And there's a way that you can still work your ride so that you can all kind of stay together, get your workout in, and everybody finishes safely together.
In the same sense, if the group ride is getting to a climb and somebody wants to attack or hammer the
Yes.
climb, don't go off the front at the top. Stop and wait for the group or ride back down,
Yes.
double back,
Yeah.
and cheer the rest of the group on up the hill.
Yeah. And don't stop. Circle back. Pick up that last person.
circle
Use it
back.
as your recovery. And you're going to get even more miles, more training out of it, better effect, and you're not going to get cooled down and sitting there waiting for somebody for 5 minutes to catch you on a long climb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back and get some more in.
Yeah, on that note, keeping track of that person in the back, maybe make sure that they know the route if you don't still have eyes
Sure.
on each other as well.
Yeah.
Not that long ago, went on a group ride with some people, and the guy off the back missed a turn.
Yeah.
And it took us a while to figure out where he disappeared
were.
to.
It happened at training camp this year.
Yep.
We had a couple folks that couldn't quite get the routes downloaded on their computer, and we lost them a couple of times. So, yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. That's not good.
We don't want to lose people.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, know the group that you're going to ride with. And if you know in your heart of hearts that you cannot keep up with them, probably better to skip that ride and go find something else. Because you don't want to be a burden on the people having to constantly wait, because that can be a little bit of a problem if there's such a wide separation between like everybody and then the slowest guy. If they're constantly having to wait just because you pull that out of the starting point and 2 miles down the road you're already waiting for said person and you're in your warm-up, that's probably not the right ride for you. So maybe let them know, like, hey, I'm gonna go do something else. I will work my butt off to try and get stronger so I can come out and ride with you guys. But just there's two sides to that coin. So
Again, communication can help with that. If you guys talk about it ahead of time and that person says, hey, I know where we're going, I'm going to have a hard time keeping up, but don't wait for me when I fall way off the back, then that makes you feel a lot more comfortable about it.
Right.
Gotcha. I don't have anything else.
Good. That's a good list.
It's a good list.
Yep, I like that. I'm sure there's stuff that we missed too. So if you are thinking of something like, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't talk about fill in the blank, jump on Facebook.
Please
Go
make some comments.
Make a little comment on there. Tell us what we missed, and we'll try and bring that up the next time. So cool. Let's jump into one last thing. Lance, hit us.
Shout out to our teammate Andy Levine, who did the Lodaja this last weekend, which is the Logan, Utah to Jackson Hole race.
Yep.
It's a 200-mile race with about 9,000 feet of climbing, so it's actually a USAC race. Significant thing. The year before, Andy had done it with our teammate Michael Myers, and they had managed to scratch onto the podium. And Andy wanted to go back and honor Michael for helping him the year before. And so he went back and did the race again. He did well. He had a flat tire and some mechanicals, which took him off the podium, which he was really hoping for. But just a shout out for Andy for doing that race.
Nice.
For Michael.
That's a tough race. Did you say how long it was?
It's 203 miles.
Exactly. With about how much elevation gain?
9,000 feet of climbing.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. I was out there at the Hetmere race over this weekend. I'm getting like messages from Justin Wagner. He's sending me pictures. He saw a dial kit. He's like, oh, I know that kit. He takes a picture. He's like, hey, spotted a kit from you guys. So he saw Andy out there and sent that over. But his teammate from JEO Cycling actually won the Pro 1 too.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
That is nuts. His last name is Arnell. So he won the 37th annual Lotages. So that's a huge accomplishment because that's a tough race. So it looks like there's a guy in the picture that you can see on Facebook that's kind of he's eclipsing him, but it was kind of a close. It looked like it came down almost like a sprint finish. Wow. That's like the last thing you want to be doing at the end of a 200-mile race.
The last 50 miles are flat to downhill. So all the climbing is preloaded. So that might be why they were in packs coming across the line.
Yeah. Looks like his name is Roger Arnell. So good job, Roger. Cool. Alan, one last thing.
My only last thing is I just wanted to say thank you guys for thinking of me and bringing me up here to
Thanks for
play a part in this.
Being willing to hop on board last minute.
You're welcome. Happy to have you here.
Right on. Matt, one last thing, bud.
If you guys need me, I'll be hanging with the cross country kiddos. I'll try and post some videos to YouTube as well. I posted something about how expensive triathlon was. I think I went through a whole bunch of different gear and just priced it up, and it was expensive. I think it was like $1,500 or something like that.
I thought you were going to do something like what your giddy up was. That's still kind of a budget line that you put there. That's my 2 cents.
Oh yeah, it is totally. I want to make this video, and it'll probably be a week or two. How expensive can you make the sport?
That's right.
I think that'll be hilarious. I think it'll be good. Well, it won't be that funny. But
would you ever do something like this is how much my stuff costs? Like, because you're going to choose gear that's different than some of the stuff that you showed there.
But then it's like, hey, here's this busted Trek bike. How much is this? I don't know. So yeah, I could totally go over all the stuff and like how much money I spent for it. I have open book. Like I would totally tell everyone, I got a lot of deals on stuff. So I feel bad being like, this $4,000 bike and I got it for $2,000. Like I don't, I feel like that's not fair to be like, hey, look at the deal that I got. Like you can't get this deal.
Well, maybe that's a whole nother one. Like, hey, if you are
how to find deals, where to find deals.
Yes,
on
if you're
stuff
savvy
really
enough,
good.
you can go out and get a $5,000 bike for however much money. So there's a couple videos there. Maybe.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of stuff with people trying to figure out how to pay for triathlon stuff because it's expensive. And then 100th video.
Oh wow, is that already here?
It'll be this week if I post something.
Wow.
Assuming that I make a video this week. I'm just going to probably do some sort of like 100th video. Here's what I'm going to do in the future kind of stuff.
You give away of like $100 or something like that?
Yep, $100. Nice. I don't know who I'm going to give it to. Probably my wife. Win that one.
That's a good idea.
She'll win that one.
Oh, awesome. My one last thing is I'm bummed that I'm missing the rest of cross season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks, but I'm also kind of looking forward to the fact that I am much further along this year than I was this time last year. This time last year, I still hadn't been on the trainer even. So I think I was just getting ready to start doing my first ride, which was ugly, super ugly. So what's going to make up for that is just being able to hang my hat on the fact that I can still ride a bike. And taking pictures. I've really been having a lot of fun doing that. I took a ton of pictures out there at Hetmere. I took over 1,700 pictures and dwindled that down to about just over 900 and posted those up for people for them to have and use and whatnot. If you want to have a high-res version of that picture and you want me to take off the little watermark that's down there in the bottom left-hand corner, I'm happy to do that to you. You can go to Flickr and check out Dialed Cycling, and you can find all the pictures in there. If you have one of you in there that you want, I will send it to you. I just kindly ask that you go to Obra's webpage, and you can find the GoFundMe link for saving the Alpenrose Dairy.
Yeah,
we talked about that earlier in the podcast, that that land is under threat of being sold. There's a scuttlebutt between the family members, and some of them want to sell, some of them want to keep. And the grandfather said that this is to stay here, and it's supposed to be used for all these great entities like Little League Baseball. We've got a velodrome there. There's midget car racing, all kinds of stuff going on there, and that's all under threat of being taken away and turned into a bunch of probably condominiums or something.
Yeah.
So. But make a small donation. Any denomination will work. Gotcha.
Super.
Cool. All right. That is a wrap. We will be back next week. Hopefully we'll have Evan in tow to tell us what happened.
Yeah, I'm curious about his race.
Yeah.
Alan, it was awesome to have you in the studio. Thank you for not only coming in for the little show today, but for listening and always giving us good feedback on the show. Lance, best of luck to you and all of your racing endeavors this week.
Thank you.
Matt, stoked to see you back running and swimming and doing all that stuff. We need to go for a bike race or bike ride. We can race each other, like my left shoulder versus your right shoulder.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Fun, so. All right, everybody, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.